Hi, Sebastian.
Hello, how are you?
Hi, we're very well. Haven't seen you in a while.
I appreciate that you're coming. Um, Jane Ferguson and Guy Perrotta, they're both filmmakers, and we worked together in a wonderful film that you can see there in their background, which is called Voices Over the Water. It's a wonderful documentary that talks about uh, Scottish culture, Scottish history, and how it's viewed here in the U.S. What can you tell me about the film, and what can you tell me about the experience doing this film? And then we can talk about workflows and things like that.
this is a documentary on Scottish identity in the United States. Um, and in the telling of that, we get into a lot of Scottish history and culture. So we filmed in Scotland as well as all over the United States. And we had one-on-one interviews. We went to a lot of Scottish themed events like Highland Games, Burns Nights, um,
Tartan Week
Tartan Week.
parades.
Yeah, just really tried to sort of show how the Scottish diaspora attempts to show their pride in their ethnic origins. But what we discovered while we were doing this is that um, this identity has a lot of appeal for people who maybe are not even of Scottish descent, or they're partly Scottish.
Throughout history
It's a
as
very,
being extraordinarily tolerant
very
and
male
being committed to
identity. Everyone
justice.
thinks of the kilt,
We're
the
the people who
bagpipes,
actually were responsible for creating
the
a
warrior.
democratic nation.
And
in
so
Scotland.
we get into the
We were
origins
the
of all of that, and in so doing, discover the real culture behind this, what is essentially a modern constructed identity. We get into the Gaelic culture, the music, the dance, the poetry. Um, and we also take a look at the sort of, if you like, the cult of Robert Burns, the Bard of Scotland, who's a lowlander, and yet you've got this Highland image for Scotland. It's been endlessly fascinating.
We kept looking for people to give us the best copy as possible, and historians and so on, and descendants of people involved in the histories. And amazingly, depending on where we were going in America to do this, as well as in the UK, well, mostly here, a lot of people were only of part Scottish descent. And we were very surprised to keep coming across that occurrence. So the project became not just a historical, social, cultural project, but something on the role of identity. For example, when we were filming with one of the greatest DPs of all time in Long Island, New York, we even discovered that the DP is also of part Scottish descent as we are. Even if we have Italian names and English accents, you never know who is a little Scottish.
I guess you're referring to me, but yes. Wow, it is. By the way, I was just listening to this guy, um, Paul Cooper, and there's a fascinating story about the first Saxons coming from Germany, to the north of England, Scotland, to Scotland, and this inability of the Romans from conquering them. This is you know AD 300 or 400. After 400 years after Jesus Christ. So the story is that they built a long, tall wall made of rocks because they could not conquer the people in the north. And that talks about how resistant, how different were in the north than in the conquer England, because England was conquered by the Romans. But yes, that's a little bit of story in my interview, if you want to call it.
No, it's
But
fascinating. Yeah.
But yes, my my grandfather was he born in England, he born in Ireland, then he moved to England, and then he moved to Argentina. That's why he speaks funny, because that's where I grew up. But he also had family members that came from Scotland. So yes, there is a lot of mix there from different places, and I have a lot of mix from indigenous people
Yeah.
in Argentina too, because of my mother.
Yes.
So yeah, so
Me too. Yeah.
yeah. So going back to the film, and I hope it's not boring for you to talk about it, but wanted to ask you about the workflow with this film in terms of coordinating with the camera crew, coordinating with the people that needed to be interviewed, and if we all learn things. Every time we do something, we learn something new. What did you actually learn in this film in relation to working with crews and working with unexpected changes and all that with with talents that were going to be interviewed and so on? What can you tell us about the workflow in general that you remember working with our crew?
It's a very collaborative medium, as you know, and it's very important to have wonderful people who have your back, who have interest in the project itself. For example, when I identified a lot of the descendants and historians and participants. I read their research, and then Jane did as well, and brought them in to be interviewed. And as you just nicely put, when you're doing documentary, you don't always know. You have a general idea as to what you want to capture based on what they've said before or written before or in a pre-interview. However, right there on location, sometimes it can change. Some people may not be as camera ready or as confident on camera because they just haven't done it before, the inexperience. So I think it's crucial to have somebody such as Sebastian Neville, who will have your back, who will, along with us, will help put these subjects at ease. We witnessed you doing that several times and telling us, this is terrific. I definitely see what you're doing. What about if the person were over here a little bit more, over there, or closer? What if we put this light? Or what if we use this gimbal and so on? And because of your facility with everything, technical as well as human beings, you added a great deal to it, and it kept happening as it's an ongoing process documentary. Don't you agree? What would you, of course, add?
I would say as well, you got to shoot with two cameras. You've got to. It gives you cutting points. When you're piecing it all together. Sebastian always showed up with a B camera as well, and was open to suggestion about where that should be placed, what lens it should have on it, and it was just really collaborative. He had great ideas for that really helped us in post to, when we were cutting it all together. It just meant we had a lot more seamless transitions and and cuts.
And the beautiful thing about his work also was that, his crew, they were always wonderful people.
Yeah,
a joy as well. And also, I remember when Sebastian's crew is never, of course, a very hard-working group. In fact, putting on running around and doing handheld, for example.
Yeah, getting B-roll.
Yeah.
It's hard when you don't have a huge crew and time's running out, at an event and people are leaving and you've done your main interviews, but you can't have enough B-roll, and that's where that second camera comes in handy again. And Sebastian was so good at just disappearing off and getting great stuff.
Yeah.
We never really knew what it was until we
Yeah.
looked at the files the next day. I remember the first day we were at the Long Island Highland Festival, and we were looking for him. We were lining up our first interview, and where is he? He was here a minute ago. And he saw an opportunity. The light was beautiful, and he got some amazing footage of a pipe band just getting their gear
Yes.
together, just enjoying a coffee in that early morning light, and lots of beautiful shots that were so useful when we were putting together those events. And you don't really know what you're going to need until you're in post. But so, you know, the more options you can get, the better.
I thought when he disappeared, I went looking for him. I was hoping that he was saucing, getting drunk with whiskey or something and beer. I was hoping to do the same. I was very disappointed to see how professional he was.
This was the other thing too, is, you know, you want to be able to set up quickly and move from place to place quickly. So you need somebody who's got a good system with their gear where they can quickly pack up the cart and get it on the move. And Sebastian had this whole rig that was amazing. I think we maximized the time we had to shoot.
Yeah.
You know, it's incredible how much stuff we got, really.
Really was.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you. I mean, that's very generous. I remember the shoot in the first one, actually.
Yeah.
This was a long project, but I remember the first shoot we shot here in Connecticut, and with with the people sitting next to the you know, the hats and the you know, this.
Yeah, it was about what, 10 people sitting in a semicircle.
The Institute for American Indian Studies.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was a lot of people to cover, and we had 3 cameras that day and a crane.
Yeah. The crane, remember the crane? That was a challenge.
Yeah, and it's you know, there's things you don't think about. That day was a beautiful day, and the sun coming through the trees. But as you move the cameras around, the light is different on every camera. So, you know, editing it was you know, it was tough. But once again, we had plenty of choices, and because it was a spontaneous group of people just talking, we didn't go back and say, can you say that again? Can you say that again? We wanted it to be much more natural than that. So, you know, we were really counting on getting some good stuff where, you know, the light wouldn't be too much of an issue. Obviously, you know, the cloudy day is the filmmaker's friend, no matter how beautiful that sunlight looks.
Did you enjoy that day?
I wish more of my students.
I'm sorry?
Did you enjoy that day?
I did. I mean, that was, I remember it was full of energy there. And I think everyone was actually engaged. It wasn't an everyday, regular, you know, shoot or day, you know, because a lot of things were happening at the same time.
Yeah.
With the interviews, the crane, the movement that needed to be coordinated with the crane going up, going down, and all that. But I do remember one detail that the rental company, because I don't own that crane, forgot to put one screw in the crane, and it was like almost, you know, very close to not being able to use it, and we found a way.
Yeah.
I can't remember what we put, but we were able to use it. But I was furious. Anyways, that was then. Well, thank you about those comments. Really, you're very generous. It was very easy to work with you guys. I mean, it was very receptive. You know, I felt free to do my work, and I felt the credit in the sense that I wasn't afraid of doing things because I felt the approval in a way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was important. Sometimes there are crews and there are situations where the producer or the director it's a bit nervous, which is okay to be nervous, but it's a bit nervous for different reasons, and that kind of constrained, the freedom of movement and
Yeah.
how much stuff you can produce and all that, because it constrains everything. So, but the way you were working, it was really so relaxed that we were able to just move freely and propose things. That's important too, I guess. So I think I have, there were days that were more difficult than others, in the sense that it was difficult to catch stuff, like in the restaurant and all that, because everybody was moving. There
In
were
New
people
Jersey.
dancing. In New Jersey, that's in New Jersey, yes. Yeah, we
It's
shot in New
great stuff.
Jersey, New York, Connecticut, all over. But I remember the film as a nice experience, working on it. I mean,
Good.
it was more than just work, so
Well, I
what
think, when you're shooting,
yeah.
it's like it's all in the prep as well. We would discuss the shot list with you ahead of time, and then not be too married to it on the day, if because you always have more on your list than you're realistically going to get, to be able to prioritize or see, oh, we could combine that, or oh, we don't really need that. um yeah, it was great. It was really collaborative and stress free. I mean, I think we all had a good time on those shoots.
Yes.
It was not stressful, even though the clock was ticking the whole time, like it always does.
We would have been dressed.
And you also
like a
helped
two-piece
with some of the interviews. You
whatever,
helped us document
because deer
the
are
last
very
interviews
big, so you wouldn't get a
of
one-piece
some
dress
people
on.
who are sadly no longer with us. And one of the last of the Burns nights, you were there to document. Some of those people are no longer with us. And also the tribal archivist of the Mohegans, who was all part Scottish descent, Faith Davison. She is no longer with us, sadly. But you helped document that and immortalize those people.
How do you remember the days that were very, very difficult? Not because we were doing something extremely wrong or anything like that, but just for other people to understand issues and workflows when you're producing an independent documentary. And how would you describe them? Because it's not easy. It's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, I think
not everything is on a tray.
most of the difficulties comes from having an extensive shot list that you start out being determined to get, and then you have to start making decisions. And one of the things about this subject matter is they love to talk, and how do you wrap it up so you can get to everybody? And that's not easy. But I think we had a sort of a shorthand, really, so we would know.
Yes. And
Like,
once you
professional club,
you
goalkeeper in
committed to not
in England.
drinking on the job,
So
that was very helpful. You were sober. No, but that's a horrible joke. But in seriousness, some of these events did have photography of people who had been celebrating with a lot of whiskey. And you never know what they're going to say or do, or like, hey, look over here. Should we just run a camera over there? And you intuitively knew that is important stuff to document as well. Like you got some phenomenal footage of dancers, and you were brave enough to get right next to the bagpipes and survived. Your ears were not destroyed. You were right next to them.
And the caber tossing.
Yes.
You're talking about not New Jersey, you're talking about 6th Avenue, correct?
Both, but in New Jersey, you were right up in that restaurant next to when pipes went by. But you also got in the middle of the road in the street, 6th Avenue, Avenue of the Americas. You got right in there. Like you were right in the parade.
I think those
That
kind of
was
shots, you got to really trust your DP a lot, because you can't direct every single
Yeah.
shot.
Oh, yeah.
And you got right away what we needed, and just ran with it, and we just kept an eye on you, and like, oh, this is going to be great.
Yeah.
And sure enough, it was great.
And we weren't keeping an eye on you to monitor you. We were just in awe of
Yeah,
how you were
just the
handling all
feeling.
this. And then if we heard of a particular figure who was marching down the road that we knew we had to capture, we just had to let you and your wonderful crew know.
Yeah, just turn on a dime and just
Yeah,
get them.
yeah.
what a beautiful day of that particular day. You know, when we shot the people on Sixth Avenue and all that. That was very good.
Yes.
By the way, just to close with on the joke, I'm a really bad drinker, and with 2 beers, I speak German with no accent. It's just like native German, you know, which is a very eccentric thing to see.
Yeah.
People get very disoriented, you know. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, no, okay. So it's well, what I try in these interviews, I try to find whatever details that we can revive in terms of workflows and the experience of working with my clients. In terms of working with sound, for example, I mean, we did all the sound for the interviews and all that. And how would you describe working with sound in when we were shooting this important B-roll? I'm not talking about someone walking down the hallway, but you know, the pipes and all that. Because actually we work a traditional way. We sort of like, you know, the camera that I had was taking the sound. I think we were recording. I can't remember if that day we had a separate sound for that, but we did.
I
Yes,
think
we
we
did.
did.
William.
Yeah, you usually
Yes,
had a
yes.
sound, a boom up as
Crazy
well.
Fast guy. Yes. Yes. But in general, you know, what would be your, you know, your opinion in terms of working or not working with, you know, separate sound person on crews? It's something I'm talking to my other clients and, you know, and getting their opinions on the matter. I know it's better, but, you know, what's your opinion?
So I think, you know, over the shoots, we probably worked with about 3 different boom ops, and they were all wonderful, really wonderful. You know, they're very professional. They were experienced. You know, we never had issues with boom shadows, and the sound quality that we got was excellent. I think it's better to record sound separately. You know, the sound in camera it's fine, but I think you get a better quality.
Yes.
I mean, I was pretty amazed actually in post what they can do with sound
Excellent.
now. It's
Oh,
so
yes.
manipulable. It's
It is.
unbelievable.
Oh, yes.
But
I heard things
nevertheless,
about,
you know, when you've got some good
yes.
quality recordings to begin with, you know, you save money because you know, you don't have to spend the time running stuff through the software to try and enhance it or whatever. So yeah.
And then also
Anything else
with
that,
your team,
yeah.
when they would hear things that they knew we should have captured, that's great, you know.
Yeah. Anything else that you want to add to the experience, which was quite an experience producing this film? Because you didn't shoot just with us, you also shot in Europe and other places. But anything that you want to add to it, you know, as a from the crew point of view, you know, from the production point of view?
Well, I think if we could have taken you with us to Scotland, that would have been great.
Going everywhere. And also, hopefully we'll all, or at least our crew people will win awards, and they deserve it. And just hope everyone can work with you if they're so lucky and blessed to be able to do so.
I mean, loads of
thank you.
people, the feedback we get is that the movie looks beautiful.
And sounds great. Yeah.
So
And can you, just to close, can you tell me a little bit about where the film is now and where are you going with the film? And,
Yes.
you know, anything that you want to clarify about the story of the film?
There's a 1 hour preview of it that airs on PBS stations through American Public Television
And Passport.
and Passport, and you can find it on the streamers and download Amazon, Apple TV, and so on, a few others. And that is wonderful. The 2 hour feature, which we were lucky to have you with us when it premiered at the DGA Theater, which is a wonderful Directors Guild of America theater. And you were there, and it was a wonderful standing room only night. So that was a great time. But that 2 hour version you can definitely get, you know, in all the streamers and downloads. And in different parts of the country, for about 4 more years, it will be the 1 hour preview on PBS stations. So.
And don't forget to mention the DVD. I got the DVD.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, DVD's on Amazon.
Yes.
And and then Google Play, Apple TV. Yeah.
It's wonderful. Thank you for being.
Is there anything on the making, or at least are you planning on another film? Do you feel like there are a lot of things that we wanted to say about this subject that we didn't, and we're thinking in doing another one or similar, or you'll just go for something completely different?
There's a lot of additional footage, as you know, when you're shooting these things that won't be in the 1 hour preview or even the 2 hour feature, but you can install these and put them in archives as well as museums and institutions, and even shorter pieces, hopefully for PBS. But other projects on cinema history would be great coming up in the future. And also, we both feel that we sure hope that you would be along and one of the first people to know for when that does happen.
Very good. Well, I can't thank you enough for coming and talking with me. And I apologize. I'm not a great interviewer.
This was fun, easy, yeah.
But I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Oh,
Thank
you're
you.
very welcome.
Talk to you very soon again. So
Yes.
All right.
thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Sebastian. Lovely to see your face again.
It is.
The same. Thank you.
Talk to you soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.